Back-to-back hat tricks makes Kimi Antonelli the youngest championship leader in Formula One history. Ollie Behrman suffers a 50G crash. And Max Verstappen, a midfielder. We've got all that and more right here on Family First. All right, welcome back, everybody. This is episode 4 now of Family First. It should be a little bit better one, I think. We got some new gear. As you may notice, we got a couple new microphones.
Oh yeah, I was about to say we do.
Yeah, you're using a different microphone now.
Because the other one's broke.
One broke. We were having a ton of audio issues. You guys probably, if you listened to the show before, you heard all the cutting out and crackling and whatnot, and I couldn't diagnose the problem, so the solution was buy more.
Buy
more
stuff.
Always the solution.
Yeah.
We're not doctors.
We're not doctors. We're not mechanics. We're not computer techs.
Like in the
so
first
we just got
episode.
new gear. Anyway, as always, we're here to talk about Formula One. I'm Matt, Bradley, Aubrey, and Jamie. This week, Suzuka.
Yes.
It's a different week for us this week because we don't have another race to talk about at some point during the episode. So this whole thing's going to be Suzuka.
Yep, a little recap.
Recap of Suzuka. We did the preview in the last one. So now we get the recap of Suzuka. What was cool and new and different?
We had some new liveries on track. Helmets. A couple new helmets.
Haas had the Godzilla.
Yes. Mercedes.
Racing Bulls had their new livery. And Mercedes, they had the Wolf on the front wing. That's right.
I liked the Racing Bull.
I liked the Racing Bull a lot.
That was sharp looking.
They were a good looking car this week. Which, I remember in the reveal when they showed those white wheel covers, we were kind of like, The drivers really liked it, or at least they made you think they liked it. I wasn't the biggest fan.
Right.
And then Lewis Hamilton.
New helmet.
With the helmet for Japan. Normally he's got that yellow helmet, and this was a white one with a bunch of different Japanese themed designs and whatnot on it. So
the fans in the stands too. They all were wearing like hats. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
There were some very creative hats.
He had the Ferrari rear wing
that
was flipping around in the wind.
There were some T-cam hats too.
The T-cam, right. If you don't know what a T-cam is,
it's in a YouTube short that we
That's
posted.
Right. Go to our YouTube channel. It's on Instagram and TikTok. So you can find our video on what a T-cam is and why, as a relatively new Formula One fan, it's helpful to know about the T-cam because I think it's changed our lives.
Yes, it's been very helpful.
It's been very helpful to talk about the T-cam.
There was also different compound tires too, Bradley. Didn't you say at one point it panned over to the stands and one of the tires had gone somewhere? I don't know where. I think it was a medium.
The hats. You're talking about
the hats. Yeah,
right, yeah. They had a.
Bradley says, "Where'd the medium tire go?"
They had a soft, a medium, and a hard. Right.
And the wet tires.
And the wet tires too, right?
Oh,
the blue.
I didn't notice that.
We think the guy had to go to the bathroom and had his friends hold his.
Or get a drink.
Hat for him, or get a drink, which would be the smart plan. So the new liveries, what was next? Qualifying.
Yeah.
At Suzuka. Interesting.
What part for you?
My boy.
Yeah.
Max Verstappen.
Yeah, things didn't pan out. Speaking of new and different, though, I kind of forgot to mention, qualifying this year in general, 2026 has been different than years past. Well, at least the past couple of years because, there's 2 more drivers on the grid.
Right.
Right. So you obviously have in Grand Prix qualifying, you have your Q1, your Q2, your Q3. With 20 drivers, it was like you had to make the top 15 to make it a Q2 and then the top 10 for the shootout in Q3. Well, now with 22 drivers, how do we do this? Well, it worked out nicely, 6, 10, right? So you have to make the top 16 to move on to Q2, and then the top 10 in Q3. So you got 22, then 16, then 10 for the shootout at the end for the qualifying positions.
Easy solution.
Easy solution, right? Things are great when you have even numbers. I digress. I just thought that was something noteworthy because things changing throughout the course of not only Formula One in general, but I suspect given some of the things that have gone on over the past couple of weeks, we're going to start seeing some changes
It sounds that way.
in the rules and regulations.
Yep. Nothing official yet, but yes.
We'll get to that, though.
Right.
That's coming.
Yep.
Kind of mentioned it in the intro, so stay tuned. We'll talk more about that. Qualifying was surprising. Like I said, Max didn't make it to Q3.
Right.
Nope.
He was actually put out by Lindblad, I think. Coming right to the end of Q2.
Yep.
It was looking like Hulkenberg might do it.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't quite get there. And then right at the end, Lindblad puts up the fast enough time to knock Max down to Q11. You're giggling. What are you giggling about?
Because your driver didn't even beat my pink team. But
My driver didn't beat your pink team?
yes,
You're right.
but my pink team finished in 7th.
That's okay. You know what?
That's great.
That's a solid outing for Alpine. It
Are
seems...
you saying that I have a bad team?
No.
Not this year.
Last year, Alpine struggled significantly. And this year, Pierre Gasly specifically is actually having a really good year. He's kind of living right there in that P7 spot.
Mm-hmm.
He seems to find his way to P7 every week. But yes, that is a higher number as far as placement than any of the Red Bulls. So congratulations to your pink team. You're putting us to shame.
Congratulations to your Max Verstappen.
Right. Yeah, Max is having a rough season so far. What else? Behrman.
Mm-hmm.
Ollie Behrman was sitting in P5 in the drivers. Scored points every week so far. I mean, I know it's only the first 2 races, but I think Haas finished the season last year P8 out of 10 constructors. And now you got Ollie Behrman putting up amazing results and qualifying into Q3, finishing races in the top 5. You know, he's sitting in...
So much so that I dropped Ocon from my fantasy team and picked up Behrman right before Suzuka, and that did not play out very well for me.
That was a freak thing, which we'll get to in a bit, because I want to spend a little bit of time talking about that and what contributed to that crash for Behrman. And good news is he's okay. We were a little worried for a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
His ankle.
He got out of the car and he was limping a bit, but he's okay. So we're going to see Behrman again. But there's some interesting things because of the new regulation changes that potentially contributed to that crash. So we'll get to that in a bit. Kimi.
Yeah.
Back to back.
Right.
Pole. Fastest lap. And victory. That's the hat trick. Pole.
Victorious.
Fastest lap. And the race win.
Right. Killing it.
It's looking like Kimi Antonelli is, I mean, he is the championship leader right now.
Yes.
Right at 19 years old, the youngest championship leader in Formula One history. Won the past 2 races. Now, even Kimi admitted that safety car, because of Behrman's crash, had a part to play in that.
Right.
But he's looking great.
Mm-hmm.
Knock on wood.
You know who else is looking great, Bradley?
Oscar.
Yeah.
He's back in.
He's back.
Who knew? All he had to do was start the race.
Yeah.
And he was going to have a good one. But he qualified well. Where did Oscar qualify?
P3.
P3. That's right.
No, he was 2nd.
P3.
No. That's where he finished.
Yeah.
Qualifying, he was 3rd.
Yeah. Qualified in P3 just behind George Russell and Kimi obviously on the pole. The McLarens, I mean, they haven't had a chance to show their stuff this season.
No,
really,
and turns out, now that they're kind of getting things figured out, they're going to be in the top again.
They're a punchy little car. I believe, Bradley, I said to you last week, you were kind of hanging your head like, oh, it didn't work out for me in Australia. It didn't work out for me in China. I said, hold your head high, buddy, because Piastri's a great driver, and he is going to bounce back. And he sure did.
Oh, yeah.
What do you want to say about that?
So at the beginning of the race, he went in front of everyone.
Oh, the race start. We'll get to that. Yeah. qualifying. That was kind of what we were alluding
Oh.
to there. But he had a great session in qualifying as well. I mean, he had pace, man.
Mm-hmm.
He was really, really fast and ended up getting P3,
P3, yeah, that's right.
which I still thought like that McLaren hadn't like gotten into yet, and that the McLarens would probably get like P7 or P8 or something.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was looking like they were going to have a rough year.
Mm-hmm.
Lando's still piecing it
Yeah,
together.
he didn't seem to be as comfortable.
He didn't seem to
as
be as
Piastri.
comfortable. That's a good
But
explanation.
I think he'll get there.
I think
you
so
know.
too. Yeah,
I have
Oscar
a theory on that.
Oscar had that confidence about him.
Yes.
that you could just see
Right.
on track.
Yeah.
What's your theory?
So, last season he didn't do well, and Lando Norris did really well. So now it's the other one's turn.
Maybe.
They get turns.
Maybe the end of the season was a little more difficult for Piastri last year, but
Right.
he was the
But
championship leader for a
exactly.
bit in 2025.
Initially, he was the
so
one.
he was the one that was kind of running the tables.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's obviously a great driver, and as long as McLaren gives him a quality car underneath him, I think he's.
Yeah.
You know, we can't. It's round 3 we just finished. We can't be talking about championship hopes.
Right.
now.
Well,
There's-
and there's a break coming up now for all of them by default, and so they'll all get some time to
they're going to get
kind
time.
of figure it out,
Yep.
tweak things, get ready for Miami.
My understanding
It could be a
is-
whole new mix by the time we see them again.
That's right. That's right. My understanding is several of the teams are bringing some pretty big upgrades
Right.
for Miami as well.
Right.
So
And we don't know if the FIA is going to come through with some changes
some
between now and
regulation
then.
changes.
So
Yeah, it could be a good thing. That could be a good thing.
It's never
Um,
a good thing.
When we're talking about the safety of the drivers
yeah.
and some of the things that are happening now causing the dangerous conditions for some of the drivers, it could be a very good thing for the FIA to come in and make some changes so that we don't have something like what happened to Ollie Behrman happen again. Think about if that had happened at Monaco
Right.
or Vegas or a place where it's not just a chain link barrier with a bunch of tires behind it.
Mm-hmm.
We got a wall or a blind corner where there's a car, harvesting battery energy, and you don't see it coming around a corner.
Right.
And,
That sounds like a skill issue to me.
I
No.
understand, but it's definitely a regulation and car issue.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So we talked about Behrman out in Q1,
Mhm.
shocking. Lindblad knocked Verstappen out at the end of Q2.
Right.
Max said something along the lines during the course of the qualifying that there was something wrong with the car, or he was kind of fighting it. I can't remember specifically, but I remember seeing
There was some point where he said it felt like there's no power steering. Was that during the actual Grand Prix?
I don't remember, but I
Or-
do remember Max saying something in the qualifying. Maybe it was at the end after he got knocked out, where it was something's not right with this car.
Mhm.
Right, I can't do
Right.
what I obviously have the skill to do because there's something wrong with this car. And then I remember after, it was a scene that you don't get very often. Max out of the car, walking along the garages in
Right.
the paddock with his helmet off.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that overhead drone, view. And as a Verstappen fan, that's not the image you want before Q3 even starts.
My
Right.
signature catchphrase.
Right. Yes, because Pierre Gasly qualified P7,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so he did make it into Q3 and was able during the Grand Prix he was battling Max
Right.
for a while and essentially won that battle
Mm-hmm.
between
He
the
did.
two of them.
Yes, but who came out on top?
I don't. Are you even listening to what I'm saying?
He just said.
I just said Pierre Gasly,
Gasly
won the battle.
I thought you were talking about Max Verstappen here.
I
No.
was, and then I said Pierre Gasly won the battle. You got to keep up. Kimi back-to-back poles.
Mhm.
Verstappen out. Russell and Leclerc were battling for that top spot, I think, and it was kind of.
Mhm.
But you could see, I think it was one of them was turn 14, one of them was turn 16, right at the beginning of that Casio triangle. I can't remember which one was which, but you got those
Yeah.
in the qualies.
Just a little
where
shimmy.
Yep. And obviously that cost them enough time that put
Yeah.
Kimi on the pole. You know.
It's
Yep.
like a
Another week in a row.
millisecond of a millisecond.
Yeah, the
It's very tight.
margins are very, very narrow in Formula One qualifying. We're talking down to thousandths of a
Mhm.
second. That's tough to say. Say that.
Thousandths of a second.
I guess you did. A better
Sounds like
job
she
than
got
me.
it
Yeah, she got
just fine.
Yep. So yeah, Kimi on the pole, and then come Sunday at the front,
Right.
green flag,
Uh-huh.
lights go out.
Yep.
What happened?
I don't know. It's like the car didn't move.
Mercedes has
It was almost like when you stall on like a manual
Right.
transmission.
right.
That's
Just-
exactly, I mean, it was just like blop, blop, blop.
Yeah, he just didn't go. And I mean, who did go? Leclerc, and even better than that,
Piastri.
Oh,
he
yeah.
rocketed that car from P3
Yeah.
up to the front.
Yeah,
And then Leclerc-
Ferrari have been the rockets the past 2 races, and now McLaren's coming up, and they're like, oh, well, we can do it too.
We can do it too. Yeah, they just needed to start the race.
Yeah.
That
So,
um,
and then Russell got a good start too.
Russell had a
so-
decent start. Yeah,
Yeah.
but more so than Kimi, I should say.
More so than Kimi, yeah, but Ferrari and McLaren still blew them out of the water.
Yeah, both
It's
punchy
just-
little Formula One cars.
Yeah.
But
Not
then-
what I was expecting at all.
Not that what I was expecting. No,
I
from
expected the Ferraris.
the Ferrari, sure,
For sure.
Yeah,
And then all of a sudden I see the papaya.
yes.
And it's like, oh man,
yes, yes, that was. And then Piastri kind of sent that team radio message like, "Hey, I think we can hang on to this."
yes.
Right? They were feeling pretty confident. Piastri
Yeah.
obviously had pace.
Mm-hmm.
Leclerc obviously had pace. Nobody can stop those Mercedes once they get out in clean air. But Kimi didn't have the clean air,
No.
right? Because he fell back to P6.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
he
think
was
it
pretty
was.
far back.
Are we psychic? Because we predicted that Mercedes was probably going to come up on top.
Okay. Yes. I wouldn't say we're psychic, but Mercedes did win the race. We all know that. Kimi got the second victory.
Where there's the papaya, there's the spoon.
Okay, speaking of spoon. I like your little segue there. Turns 13 and 14, known
Mhm.
as spoon curve.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I probably should have brought this up when we were talking about the qualifying, but it was claiming a lot
Yes,
of
tricky.
tires, right? It was just like no grip.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are going wide. Spoon curve typically is not quite such a dangerous, I don't know the word to say, but it just wasn't working out for her. Casualty, okay. It never ended up, although I'm pretty sure that's where Behrman's crash was at Spoon. But yeah, that's a lot of guys losing it at Spoon. So thank you, Aubrey. Thank you for bringing that up because that was worth mentioning. Piastri in the race. Piastri's out front.
Yes.
I think Russell made it back up to P2.
2. Mm-hmm.
And then it's one of those, okay, now we need to talk strategy.
Right. And so Piastri comes on the radio and tells his team, I think I can hold this. So basically time my pit stop
Yes.
so that I'm first, right? So that
Yes.
I pit before the Mercedes so that when I come back out, they still have to go as well. And then
Right.
I can, work my way back up to first.
Correct. And we start the race on, I think everybody but one driver starts on a medium tire.
Yeah.
Who's
And
that
so
driver?
I can't remember.
I think it was Bottas.
He's the one that started on the hard
that
tire.
sounds right.
You know what?
That sounds right.
Bradley,
Yeah.
I think you're right.
But he lost.
So then we get to the point where we're going into the pit.
Yeah, we're coming up on, it's around the time that everyone's going to start looking to pit. I think it was like lap 15, somewhere around there. I think it said the pit window on the mediums was like lap 15 to 22.
17 something, I think
somewhere
is when
around
we
there.
Started, yeah.
So we're coming around up on that window. Piastri says, I think I can hold this position. Make sure you pit me before the Mercedes
Before the
go,
Mercedes,
right?
Yeah.
And then I see that they come on the radio to Lando
Yeah.
and say, box, box.
Yeah.
So they make the decision to pit Lando first of the team.
Even though asked.
Piastri's out front and had asked to be pitted first. And again, he may have not necessarily meant within their team, but definitely before Mercedes. The problem is when you go and pit Lando, now you're showing your hand. Now you're showing all the other teams, hey, we're starting our process of pitting to where on the next lap around, Mercedes can pull in.
Correct. And get the undercut.
And get the undercut on Piastri.
Piastri
So
first
it was
dibs.
it was just one of those moments where I thought, here we go again.
Yeah.
Favoring Lando, because I still say that's what's happening over there.
Yeah. As evident by my famed slow pit stop swap phrase, right?
Right.
Did you make
right.
that up?
I don't. Probably not. Maybe I heard it somewhere. I don't know. It just sort of rhymes, so I liked it. But it seemed to those that are not inside McLaren or even McLaren fans necessarily, it seemed as though that what was going on.
Because, possibly he was having tire issues. Maybe he needed to go first. Maybe it was just a matter of timing and where they were on the track in line with the pit lane.
Sure.
Who knows? We don't get to hear all of that.
We don't know the ins and outs.
Outside looking in, also with the opinion I already have that they favor Lando. Piastri needs to move teams at some point for his career. It just felt like, once again, Piastri had asked for the order. They give it to Lando. They show the hand. Mercedes then has an opportunity to undercut Piastri. Now, it happens that Piastri did get into the pit before Russell, so he was able to hold that position temporarily.
Yeah, and it wasn't just Piastri. Leclerc.
Right, yeah.
George Russell ended up pitting.
Mm-hmm.
I think 4 out of the top 6 take their pit stop.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, it's yellow flag. What happened?
Right.
And the screen cuts to Ollie Behrman's car in the barrier. 50G crash.
Crazy.
Is that
50?
bad?
That is a lot.
Yeah. The replay, you could hear just like the crunch.
Yeah. So I wanted to take a couple of minutes and just kind of go through exactly what that means, right? So what is a G, right? It's
I
the
don't
force.
know.
I'm glad you asked.
It's the force of gravity.
Yes. In this particular case, when we're talking about a racing driver or a pilot or maybe somebody riding in a roller coaster, the G is the force on your body due to a rapid change in velocity, right? Maybe it's a extreme acceleration or extreme deceleration. Obviously, if you're doing 200 kilometers an hour and you hit a wall, you get that rapid deceleration. In this particular case with Ollie Behrman's crash, it was a 50G crash.
Oh,
and so
G-force. Yeah, I've heard that.
G-force, correct, yes. And so I wanted to do a little comparison.
Yes.
And so I pulled up a document here so we could kind of see what are some comparative activities that one might be familiar with so we can see. To kind of answer your question, Aubrey, is 50 Gs a lot? Well, a fighter jet,
Oh.
7 to 9 Gs.
Right.
Oh.
Those top fuel dragsters that do like 0 to 300 in like a second and a half. I'm making up numbers. I don't know the actual.
I know what you're saying, though.
4.2 Gs.
Oh.
Yeah.
A roller coaster, 3.5 to 6 Gs. Some of the more intense roller coasters are about 6 Gs. An astronaut launching into space or re-entry into the atmosphere, 3 to 8 Gs.
That's crazy.
Oh
So,
my.
I don't know if you noticed, but every single one of those numbers,
Is the lower, much
Significantly
lower. Than
lower.
they're all
50.
single-digit numbers.
Right.
Ollie
Right.
Behrman hit the wall at 50 times the force of gravity.
How is he
50
still?
Gs.
How is he still okay?
Well, obviously those cars are designed for the purposes of safety for the drivers because they know the risk of a crash is very, very high.
Is that the guy who hurt his ankle?
Yes, that
Yes.
was Ollie Behrman that had the crash and hurt his ankle. Thankfully, that was all that happened to him, right? We're happy that we have Ollie back for the rest of the season. I love that he had gone around. I saw a video on social media somewhere that he had gone around and hugged everybody in his crew, right, and said, "I'm sorry and thank you for doing what you're doing," because while it wasn't really his fault, you know,
Not even a little bit.
not even a little bit, he was feeling responsible for that. And so, whose fault was it, right? This
The
is where
team.
No.
They designed the car.
No.
Okay. So it's nobody's fault, but the FIA is now taking a look at this because potentially the fault lies with their new regulations.
Yes.
Right? Because we're forcing the 50% combustion engine and 50% battery. Right? And so now battery harvesting and deployment is a part of the race strategy.
Right.
And how do we harvest battery power?
Slowing down.
Lift and coast. Right? And so there's two aspects there. The lift and coast or a phenomenon called super clipping. And what super clipping is with these new power units is, let's say you're on full battery deployment, right? And so now your power unit is putting power to the wheels, 50% from the combustion engine and 50% from the battery power. But during that deployment, the battery runs dry, right?
Okay.
And so now all of that power is no longer going to the wheels from the combustion engine. It's going to the recharge system for the batteries,
I see.
which causes that 50 kph drop in speed. And seemingly that's what happened with, it happened to be Franco Colapinto.
Yes.
That was in front of Behrman, right? And so you have 50 kph closure rate right there with the car behind. No time to react, essentially,
Right,
and that put Behrman in the signs on
Right.
the side of the road, and then eventually into the barrier. But is this the fault of the FIA regulation putting so much emphasis on
Battery
harvesting and deployment versus, you know, if we had less of a reliance on the battery and a little more on the combustion engine? I mean, Formula One used to be V10s back in the day, right? Now we're turbocharged V6s that you're getting half the power to the wheels from a battery,
Right.
right?
Is
And
that
so
bad?
potentially, right? It's causing racing in Formula One specifically to be different than it was in the past, because now it's not about pure pace. It's not about pure speed and driver skill. These guys are essentially fighter pilots now. They have so much to do in the cockpit,
Right.
in order to strategically harvest and deploy that battery power at the appropriate times for quickness on the straights and, corner exit. And anyway, so it's becoming more and more evident that potentially this new car setup and regulation is causing more harm than good. And I know that the fan base is feeling that, and there are plenty of drivers that are feeling that. Verstappen specifically, I think Fernando Alonso has been vocal, about his frustration. Lando Norris specifically, and it has caused a difference in points. Yes, but I mean, we're seeing now teams like Red Bull,
Right. I mean, the whole field has changed
in the midfield.
Right.
We're seeing teams like Haas, save Ollie's crash up in the top, right? And even, last year Alpine couldn't buy a bucket, and now you got Pierre Gasly, Aubrey Pink team,
Yeah.
right? P7, right? He's in the top 10 consistently. Now, I do remember at the reveal for Red Bull, Lauren Mekies had kind of said on the front end, like, hey, bear with us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It's going to be a rough start to the season. And
How
so
did they know?
plenty of people are walking away from Red Bull as a championship contender this year. But we have this break, right? We have this nice long...
Right.
I looked at the fantasy app, and it said 31 days till
Okay.
team lock deadline.
So right at a month.
That doesn't
Calendar
mean we're
month, a
gonna
little
stop
over 4
making
weeks.
videos, though.
That's right. No. Keep
No.
coming back. We'll get you some videos.
The
But yeah,
aftermath of the crash.
yeah, the aftermath of the crash. Oh, I know what you're talking about. The cleanup on the track.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
There were these guys that came out, and they had specialty brooms that are specifically designed for, like, getting it off the track quickly, and a bunch of guys just came on the track and they took out these special brooms and they just started sweeping until like all the debris from the crash was like cleared out.
Well,
What was
they're
special
not
about those
they're
brooms?
not specialty to like an F1 thing. They're not
Yeah.
because they're not used for every race.
Right.
It's only Japan. So what about those brooms?
It's a special like Japanese broom, and it's like got hard. It's like hard and
Like harder bristles. It's a traditional Japanese
Yes.
broom.
yes, and it's like a witch's broom.
It looked like a witch's
Design
It looks
broom,
like a
yeah.
witch's
Thing.
broom. Yeah.
So it's easier.
Traditional
it's-
Japanese.
Yes, it's for efficient cleaning.
Right.
Yeah, it's not like
Efficient.
NASCAR where they use that like truck that blows
Right. With
everything.
the
Right,
big blowers on
right.
the side. Sure. Yeah. And this was a nice little hat tip to the Japanese culture.
Yes.
Right. So I thought that was nice.
Yeah.
I didn't know until somebody had researched it that was a specific thing to the Japanese Grand Prix for the purposes of, paying a little homage to the Japanese culture there. So I thought that was kind of cool once I learned about it, because I'm looking at this going, it's 2026.
Well, yeah, because during the race, you were like, I don't understand.
Why
All these
would
other
we-
races, they use cars to quickly clean it up. We're
Yeah.
out here with these old school methods. And so then I looked up specifically why they're
Yeah,
using the
right.
brooms and if it's only that track or
Yeah.
I hadn't seen it before. So I figured it was just for Japan.
So admittedly,
do with
I
the
was
culture.
a little critical at the beginning. Like, this doesn't make any sense, But now it makes sense, and my
Yeah.
opinion has flipped around, and I liked it.
Old school is the new school.
Old school sometimes is better.
Yes.
Everybody likes the old school.
It got
Washer
cleaned
and
up just
dryer.
fine.
Yeah, it did. It got cleaned up just fine. We're back in the race.
And quickly.
Mhm.
And quickly. It got cleaned up quickly.
Got cleaned up relatively quickly. So we're back in the race.
Well, and because of the accident, obviously safety car comes out.
Right.
And so then we're back to the pit situation.
Race strategy.
Race strategy, because at that point, Piastri, Russell, Leclerc, they had all gone before the safety car,
Sure.
and now the rest of the field takes their pit, and Kimi
Comes out in P1.
comes out in P1.
Right. And then this is the clean air thing I was talking about with these Mercedes. Off the line, just awful off the line, right? The Ferrari and the McLaren blew them out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
But you give one of those Mercedes functioning properly,
Right.
some clean air, and Kimi's pace at that
Oh
point
yeah.
was
The gap just
unstoppable.
kept getting bigger
It's
and
a
bigger and
recipe
bigger.
for success.
I think the race ended with like Piastri like 14.9 seconds behind Kimi or
13.9.
Oh,
Yeah.
13.9.
13.9, 13.8. You're right, Bradley. It was so far, and that was just in half the race.
Right.
Right. It wasn't the
Yeah,
entire
that's
race.
after the safety car.
The safety car ends in lap 26 or something along those
Yeah, out
lines.
of
Like
53,
53
laps.
laps, right? So then you got essentially just half the
Right.
race left, and
They're all bunched up together until that point.
Yep, that's
He's
right.
out in front and then just
14 seconds ahead
Gone.
over the course of 20
yeah.
something laps. So
Yeah.
that's incredible pace by Kimi. Amazing car from Mercedes. However, George Russell, right? He's got the same car, right?
Right.
Continues to have problems with his car week
Yeah.
after week. Obviously, the bit of bad luck there for Russell pitting
With the
before
timing. Sure.
Yeah, the timing was just not in his
Yeah.
favor.
And then he was,
at
you know,
Suzuka.
stuck in traffic.
He was stuck in traffic. He thought he was going to get the one up on everybody else in the field by pitting early, and it just happened to be slightly too early. Nobody could have predicted the crash, right?
No.
And obviously, that's just a part of racing that's
Right.
going to happen, and
Yeah.
the timing for him was
Well,
terrible.
and they had
but
mentioned too that historically with that track, after lap 9, there's never been a safety car.
or not in the past. I think they said 25 years or
Okay,
something
all
along
right.
those lines, right? Yeah.
So
you're
then
right.
you'd think that
We're safe.
The timing of their pit being,
Yeah.
15 laps or once they were in that medium tire window, you'd think like, all right, well, what are the odds, right?
Yeah.
No, no,
And
no, no.
It happened.
Again, the new regulations this year, it's
Changes
like a
stuff,
whole
yeah.
new game, right? So
Right.
yeah, maybe the past 25 years this didn't happen,
Mm-hmm.
but now with the battery power being
Right.
and the strategy of the harvest and deploy is
Rewriting everything,
you're
know.
kind of rewriting the script here. So unfortunately, Behrman happened to be the first victim of this sort of thing. But,
Sure.
Again, skill issue? Question mark?
No.
I don't think so, Aubrey. I see what you're doing, and I understand why someone would think that doesn't know kind of the inner workings of what's going on there. And
I'm asleep most of the race.
fair enough, right? Yeah. She wakes up and says, "How'd the pink team do
Mm-hmm.
this season as opposed to last?" Pretty well. But yeah, I don't think it's a skill issue at all. I think that was kind of my point earlier on in the show is Ollie Behrman potentially one of the top drivers this year. You know, like I said, he was before
doing
this
really well.
before Suzuka. He was sitting in P5 in the drivers' championship.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
if he's running with the likes of Piastri and the Mercedes and Lando and the Ferraris,
Right.
obviously he's got some skill.
Yeah.
He's
and
golden.
and Haas has given him a good car.
Yes.
Ocon had a decent. Yeah, he finished
did,
P10.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he scored a point
Yep.
this week. So
One.
Haas has a car,
They do.
right?
They do.
They're I mean, it could be worse. It could be Williams.
Oh, poor Williams.
I don't know.
What's
I
wrong
don't
with
know.
him?
Well, they didn't do so well this week. I know
It
Alex Albon hit the pits like 3 times.
Many
or
times,
something.
yeah. Yeah. Signs.
They got their pit practice.
Signs
right?
stayed
So
in a little longer.
Yeah, Sainz did a
he
little
finished
better.
a little better this week
Yep.
than.
Lance Stroll, the retirement again.
Mm-hmm.
Alonso did finish the race.
Yay!
And then you had the 2 Cadillacs, down
Yeah.
there at the bottom as well. So,
Yep.
Oh, and Aubrey.
Yes.
Williams is a team, not a person.
Oh, thanks for clearing that up,
Yes.
Bradley. I didn't catch that. So
Yeah.
good
They're-
job. Yes, Williams, the team, as
Their drivers are Alex Albon and Carlos Sainz.
Yes. So they're having a rough season. But then back in the race, Kimi's out front. You got 14 seconds back. Now you got your battle, right, with Piastri, Russell. I think Hamilton, I had made the prediction last show that Lewis Hamilton was going to be on the podium in Suzuka. And, I mean, he had his spot for a little bit. Again,
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with, you talk about skill issue. I don't know if it's a skill thing for Lewis Hamilton or he's having some issues with his car or whatnot, but he's up in P3, and then the next thing you know, everyone's getting by him, right?
Yeah.
Russell gets by him.
What place
Leclerc
did he
gets by him.
finish?
He finished in P6.
Oh yeah,
Lando-
right above my.
Lando was battling him for a little while
Mm-hmm.
and eventually got by. So, what's going on with Lewis Hamilton? That's another one. That,
Right.
I don't understand. Because
really competitive for
theoretically-
most of the race, and
Yes,
then
and then
it's-
all of a sudden, right?
Yeah.
Theoretically, Leclerc's got the same car,
Mm-hmm.
and he's up there battling George Russell.
Yes.
I mean, for a good bit of that, and they had some great battles.
They did.
The back and forth. One passes, the other one goes back,
Yep.
and it was
He
kind
came
of
out on top.
it was kind of a common theme throughout the course of this race where the Casio triangle, that's turns 14, 15, 16. I'm sorry, that's turns 16, 17, 18.
Mm-hmm.
And the Casio triangle, that chicane right at the end, is a good spot to make a move to overtake. But shortly after that, you get
Right.
your overtake zone.
Yeah.
So now you get past going into Casio triangle, you're just going to get him right back. And that happened.
Right.
Piastri did that. There was a great move between George Russell and Charles Leclerc where Russell gets Leclerc in the
Well, it was
chicane.
almost like Leclerc kind of let him go. It's like, well,
Right.
I'm going to let
I'm
him
gonna
pass because
let him coast,
I'm
right.
wasting my energy
Right.
battling.
Yep.
And then I'll have the build up and I can just get him.
And he sure did. Round the outside
Yes.
turn one
It was
there.
beautiful.
It was amazing. That was
Yeah.
one of the better overtakes of the whole race, I think. And
Yeah.
so fun to watch. And, I wouldn't say I'm the biggest George Russell fan, although Mercedes is having a killer year. I don't know how that's going to go because we haven't had the chance to see George Russell and Kimi battling each other, right?
Right.
They're never right there.
Well, and then I think it was in Drive to Survive this most recent season. Toto had mentioned, it was because they were
You're
talking
right.
about with the McLaren issue,
Choosing
how,
a top
how they
driver.
didn't choose a driver, right? Last season, McLaren, they were kind of letting their drivers just battle it out, right? And they weren't picking a favorite.
Allegedly.
So they say.
Lando Norris.
So they say.
Okay, allegedly. Right,
But
yeah.
Toto, in one of the interviews on the documentary Drive to Survive, which is about Formula One, right?
Toto's the Mercedes
Toto is
team
the Mercedes team principal.
His name's Toto Wolff.
He said that you have to pick one. That this is what happens when you don't.
That's
And
right.
so it will be interesting to see if
Does he eat his own words?
Does he stick with that?
Yeah,
And then which one does he choose?
I don't know.
Provided that they stay at the top. I mean, again, 1 month break coming up.
Yes.
McLaren's already showing that they can get back up to the top again.
That's right.
Ferrari's really strong,
Yep.
and plenty of other teams aren't far behind.
That's right.
With time to work on it.
Time to work on it and a bunch of upgrades, like I said,
Right.
coming from Miami.
But-
so
I see you
Let's
just
say-
named all my enemies because all of those people were above 7.
those are typically
But-
the top
yes.
teams.
But I mean,
Typically.
let's say that we come back to Miami and Mercedes is still strong. They're still near the top.
Which we can expect, I think.
I mean, there
Yeah.
comes a point, I think, that you do have to pick one or the other and focus your efforts and your strategy around that driver being your favored.
I
And so
I don't have. Well, we're talking about Mercedes, and I personally don't have an issue with that decision if I'm Toto Wolff. Right? I don't have a problem making that decision.
Okay.
I can understand why he does. Right?
Sure.
George is the veteran. Kimi's in his second year.
Mm-hmm.
But I found this on X, and I thought it was noteworthy because Kimi Antonelli, he's in his second year. Last year, I think he was working out the rookie kinks, so to speak. But this is a post that I saw on X. It says the only drivers to get consecutive hat tricks since the start of this century
Okay.
are Kimi Antonelli, Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel, Fernando Alonso, Felipe Monza, and Michael Schumacher.
I
Now,
have
if-
heard of 3 of those.
Now, if that's not a list of
Right.
unbelievable champions in Formula One, Kimi is a part of that
Right.
crew. So, okay, he's 19. He's inexperienced.
Well, that didn't stop Toto from
That-
pulling him in the first place.
Correct.
So,
Right. That didn't stop Toto
Right.
to begin with. I think Toto sees something. If I'm Toto Wolff, and thankfully I am not, although I wouldn't hate having his bank account,
Wouldn't we all?
yeah, for sure. I got to go Kimi.
right. I
You know,
agree.
I got to go Kimi. I think he's just showing some real pace,
Mm-hmm.
some calm under pressure that he was not showing last year.
Right. Yes.
Right?
It's better this year.
It's much better this year,
Mm-hmm.
although he did have that wobble
Yeah.
in China right before, but I understand he was about to get his first victory and so on.
Right.
But yeah, I'm going.
Now
with
that
Kimi.
one's under his belt, though, and this one, he was totally fine.
So he's broken the ice, right? And that's great. You take that momentum,
Mm-hmm.
push that forward through the rest of the season, and just remember,
He's going places.
what you have to do when you start feeling that pressure. Because
Mhm.
14 seconds out, you're not feeling a whole lot of pressure.
Right.
Like I said, he admitted that the safety car, the luck of that fell in his favor
Sure. Yeah.
to put him in the P1 position. But did he have the pace to get from P6 back up to would be in 14
Well,
seconds
he had.
ahead?
I mean, when he fell back from the start, he had already started to work his way up a little bit.
That's correct.
So I
That's
think
correct.
yes, he had already shown that he could do that because he did it at the very beginning before things just kind of
Yeah.
blew apart.
Yeah. So I mentioned last show that I was making some changes to my fantasy team, and I was a big fan of Kimi. I did go with Kimi on my fantasy team this past week.
I
and
did
put my
too.
2X on him, and it paid dividends. Although I will admit, when he was sitting back in P6, I was like, great.
Yeah.
Here we go.
What
again.
did I do?
But yeah. So I had a good week.
And,
Fantasy.
and Kimi Antonelli, Piastri, Leclerc, Russell, and someone else.
What are you saying? The list in order of how the race finished?
No, the 5 people you had on your
five
fantasy team,
people I
because you
put
were
on my-
saying you did really well. All
I
5
did.
of
Oh,
your
yeah,
people
well,
finished
because
top 5.
I
He-
used the limitless trip
yeah,
this week,
yeah.
so
That only works once.
you get it one time per season. Everybody else has the opportunity to use it against me now.
Chip well spent.
Chip well spent
Coming
this
for
week,
ya.
Yeah, I almost called the top 5. I had Lewis Hamilton,
Mm-hmm.
and up until that point where Lando got around him, I had the top 5 on my team.
Yeah.
So,
Last few seconds.
yeah. So that was Suzuka.
Yeah.
I am sad.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're gonna do now.
We'll find things.
Watch me drive.
We'll watch you drive the simulator.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes.
we'll put the kids in the simulator and let you guys watch that.
That'll be a
They're
treat.
skilled. We got some other things coming for you guys, so come back.
There's no track talk. though.
Yeah, no track talk.
Yeah.
We're gonna hold off until we're a little closer to the Miami Grand Prix.
Yes.
But
Come back for that. We will have a track talk for Miami
You.
the week prior. So
Yeah.
you guys got your homework to do now. You got to learn all about Miami so you can tell everyone out there in the internet world all about the
Yeah.
Miami circuit.
But Aubrey still got a joke for you.
Oh yes. I can't leave everyone hanging.
Let them have it, Aubrey.
So, why did the F1 driver open a bakery? This is where you say why.
Oh, wow.
Why?
Because he was really good at making donuts.
Because yeah. Good. That's good. Well, you'll have that for Miami's track talk. Thank you, Aubrey, for that. I appreciate that. We need some comic relief here. F1's
my
always
job.
F1's always so, and you've done it pretty well. I think you have
Yeah.
quite a fan base now.
I'm the smallest one with the biggest fan base.
Yeah. If you want to go ahead, buddy.
I also think you meant comedic relief, not comic relief.
I apologize. It's not your department, huh? That's comedic relief. You're right, buddy. Thanks.
That was my job from day.
That's right. That's right.
You got to keep them coming.
Yeah,
Pressure's
which,
on
like I
now.
said, you did a great job of. There's a short video on our YouTube channel and Instagram and TikTok if you want to go see Aubrey telling her Formula One jokes.
Watch me.
Yeah.
Worship me.
Okay, that might be taking it too far, but yep. So you can check us out on TikTok.
Instagram,
And
YouTube.
YouTube Shorts.
That's right. The podcast
Yep.
is available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify or anywhere you get your podcast. Leave us a comment and let us know what you think.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Please, we have
Hey.
14.
If you know somebody that likes Formula One, share this show with them. Maybe they'll find something valuable here. We get grammatical corrections.
Mm-hmm.
We get
comedy.
comedy. We get expert Formula One
Sure.
analysis and engineering and physics lessons on G-force. And so who could ask for anything more, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Do you guys have anything else to add? I think we're gonna let everybody go now since we don't have another track to talk about. I'm gonna try to get you guys Bahrain on the sim, even though we're not gonna see
Yeah.
Bahrain or Jeddah
Right.
this year. So we'll get you those and then Miami. And yeah, keep coming back for more Formula One fun here at Family First. What do you guys got? You got anything to add?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I do
Bradley?
want to say one thing about the G's.
Okay.
All right.
His is our future engineer here.
So grown adult Blue Angel pilots, they'll pass out from like 10, 15.
You're right, Bradley.
Mhm.
Bearman, who is 20, is just walking it off.
That's right. Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
crazy,
after a
right?
50G
Gs.
crash. What's that called where they pass out?
Blech.
It's called G-lock.
Uh,
G-induced loss of consciousness, LOC, G-lock. And that's, you'll see that with the fighter pilots or more so in aerobatic pilots, right? Specifically people that are untrained, because those fighter pilots, they go through the centrifuge, right? They train their bodies on how to handle those G forces, but you'll see them pulling back on the stick there, and you just see the force on their face, and their skin kind of comes down,
Right.
and they're
Crying.
they pass out.
Yeah.
They essentially, you see them pass out, and those G forces cause the blood in their brain to leave and go pool down in their feet. So now you don't have oxygen, right? Because the blood brings oxygen to your brain. Now you don't have oxygen getting to your brain, and you suffer a hypoxia of sorts, and you basically pass out. And that can be detrimental. That can be fatal.
Sure.
So that's not the sort of thing. That's why they have those fighter pilots trained for all that. And, you know, I don't know how often that happens in racing, but, I mean, what do you say, Bradley? They're pulling 8, 9 Gs?
Yeah.
Right? And Ollie Behrman was 50 Gs.
Mm-hmm.
So, right, it's definitely something that the FIA needs to take a look at.
One thing about G's or speed in F1 that I learned, they're going so fast they have to blink in certain spots of the track, otherwise they'll like swerve out of control. So they have to control their blinking, but with the winds like coming at them, even though they have helmets, that's hard. So
That's right.
So they have to control their blinking.
That's right. That is a really good point. And there's a really fun math problem that Oscar Piastri put out there on the internet about how far they travel every time they blink their eyes, and it is an extremely great distance.
Yeah, I
because
remember
of how
watching
quickly
that
the
actually.
car's traveling, and how often or seldom, I should say, they blink
Right. Yeah.
during the course of the race. That's good. We'll find that and we'll bring it back up on another episode so we can talk more about that, because that one's really fun.
I'm so smart.
That's also true. I think for me, that's all I got.
Yeah, that's a wrap.
That's a wrap, guys. We'll see you for Miami
Next week?
in 31 days, but we'll keep bringing
We'll
you.
keep posting videos every week, like
That's right.
me driving a track. Remember, watch me, worship me, put me on a pedestal.
Oh, jeez. All right.
I think it's time. Thank you guys so much for being here. And when the lights go out, remember,